What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the Unfiltered Nation? Hi, it is Christopher Rausch, your No Excuses coach, and we are here Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, your place for the Unfiltered experience, where we bring you unfiltered conversations that are designed to maximize your confidence and get you moving off your ass and into your goals and your dreams. And I'm the No Excuses coach, and I'm here to help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're watching us live or on the replay, whether you're sitting there watching us on the video cast or listening to us on the podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of my life. We can't thank you enough. We are on episode number 114 this evening. So episode 114 of doing this Unfiltered experience. And we just appreciate you, so many longtime listeners and viewers out there supporting the show and sharing this out. Thank you for it so much. One of the things that we want to ask for you guys to do, and this is something that Scott and I have done a really bad job of, but I know many of you watch this on the video cast. We ask that you subscribe to the podcast, help support the podcast, and go there. And most importantly, please leave us a review. We just realized we were talking about our numbers and like, why aren't we reaching more people? And so I had a friend of mine look at our podcast, look at our artwork and stuff like that. And he says, you don't have any reviews. He goes, you need reviews to sit there and put you up in the ranking in the search engines. So I know we got a ton of you guys out there. We're in like 9 different countries. So please do us a solid. I just put it in the comments. Go to that link. It's iTunes. That's like 90% of where most of our listeners are. Please go to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast and then leave us a review. And here's the deal. Why don't you take a screenshot of that when you leave us the review? And anybody who submits something before Monday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll put your name into a hat, and then we'll give you a 30-minute coaching session just for going there. So whoever, not everybody's going to get it, but just one person's going to be a lucky winner. What we'll do, but send us that screenshot on social media. You guys know where we're at, theunfilteredexperience.com. You can always go there. But I put it in there, so please go do that for us. We would love and appreciate you. It would take just a few minutes. If you don't have iTunes on your phone, you could download it pretty quick and leave us a review. We would love and appreciate you guys for that. Again, in case you just want to see it see it on the screen, there it is, www.theunfilteredexperience.com. Go there and you can find our podcast and everything else as well. But it's here in the show notes or here in the comments on the show. So anyways, we got Misty in the house. What's up, Misty? Misty Morrison watching from Kentucky. Thank you, Misty Morrison, for being here and sharing this great experience with us. Unfortunately, Scott is not able to be here tonight. Thank you, Misty. Unfortunately, Scott is up in Montana and unfortunately had a snowmobile accident. So we're wishing Scott the best. Unfortunately, he and his sister were injured and we wish them all the best. I believe that they're at the hospital right now. So we love you, Scott. We're sending you positive energy. He was going to do the show from his hotel room, and then he called me about an hour and a half after he told me that and said that they were just in a horrible accident. So we send our love and our care to Mr. Scott Goyette. That's why I love doing the show. I do my raw and unscripted show on Tuesday nights. Of course, you guys know that. And I do that one solo. So I like doing this one with a buddy, but Scott's not going to be able to be here. So we wish him all the best. And thank you, Misty. Misty says she subscribed. You're awesome. Appreciate you. And then after you listen to this and watch this interview or watch a couple of other ones, then you can go leave us a review. We want you to make sure that you like the show, of course. Prayers to them both. Thank you very much for that. And also just want to do a quick little shout out. This show is brought to you by our friends at helphealhumanity.org, www.helphealhumanity.org. I've been on the board of directors now for a couple of years. And the reason why I'm on the board of directors for this particular organization is because I got the opportunity to interview the CEO and the founder, Serena Buffalino, who is a monster when it comes to accomplishing things and wanting to truly help heal humanity. We built schools in Haiti. We've done we feed and care for the homeless in Hamilton, Ontario. We do stuff here in the United States. It's just a tremendous organization. And here's the thing that I love about it the most, aside from Serena and what she's doing, all of the money goes directly towards whatever it is that we're raising funds for. So I'm not in like some other organizations where they take a paycheck and you're wondering, okay, where's all this money going to? None of it goes to any of us. We're all non-paid on the board and everything else. Even Serena doesn't take any money. All goes to the efforts of what we're doing. So when you get value out of this show, again, do what you can. If you can donate $50, $100, $200, $20, $5, whatever it might be, go to helphealhumanity.org and do that and send us a screenshot of that so we can personally thank you, because you guys do it. We get the screenshots every once in a while. I've had a few people say, I'm not going to send you the screenshot, Chris, but I did it. I just want to love and appreciate you guys. I'm on the board. We actually sponsor a child in Haiti. So we have them go to school. And not only do we send kids to school, get this, a lot of times we have to raise money to feed them, because if you haven't been living under a rock recently and watched the news, which I really don't, but Haiti has been going through so much tremendous turmoil. They've had 2 earthquakes that has just been absolutely devastating. And then now there's a lot of gang activity going on there because the country's just in absolute dire straits, but here still in one of the roughest parts of Haiti, we're sending kids to school and we're feeding them. So talk about helping to heal humanity. So when you get value out of the show, please go there and do what you can. And if you're interested in getting involved in the show, interested in getting involved with Help Heal Humanity, there is volunteer positions, and we're even hiring for some board members. So if you're looking to be philanthropic and do what you can, do it with us, and we would love and appreciate you for that. So thank you for allowing me that little opportunity to share that with you. And we got Robert in the house. What's up, Robert in the house? We got him. And we got Misty saying that's amazing. So yes, it's a beautiful, beautiful organization. And the reason why we're here tonight is because we have a beautiful human being who is out there helping to heal humanity on his own terms. He's an executive mindset coach, and we were recently introduced to one another. Had a great conversation. I said, you need to be on the show. And I'm bummed Scott's not going to be here to experience this with us, but we have Clifford Starks in the house. What's up, Clifford? Welcome to the Unfiltered Experience, my friend.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, brother. And thank you everybody who's watching too.
Yes. Thank you. Let's see. I was like, Robert says, I found where the commenters are. Woo. Yes. We got Tom Jin in the house. What's up, Sean? Thank you there. Misty says, Coach. So I'm guessing you know Misty.
I know Mama Misty. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Misty, for being here again as well. And Clifford, so I just want to dive into this. This is the Unfiltered Experience. So we're going to have a great conversation here tonight. And you're an executive mindset coach. And a lot of people, I find in life, I've been a coach for over 20 years. A lot of people in life tell me like, they have so many excuses about why they're not doing something or why they're not happy. And of course, I became the no excuses coach because I eliminate those excuses. Talk to us about some of the excuses you've had in your personal journey and the ways that you came to find to overcome them.
Like my biggest thing was I started life kind of getting punched in the face right out the get-go, to be completely honest. I know
how that is.
Yeah. So I was a 3-year-old kid, and I was afraid to go on this Ghostbuster ride of all things. Right. So I'm 3 and I'm terrified to go on this Ghostbuster ride. And I wanted my dad to get on the Ghostbuster ride with me because I was too scared to do it by myself.
Right. How old were you at that time? You were 3?
I was 3 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
I was 3 years old. And that's the only thing I remember at 3, like that thing. And he didn't get on the Ghostbuster ride with me. So I never got to experience that ride.
Oh, wow.
And after not experiencing that ride when I was 4, he drove out of my life. And I remember him driving away and thinking, I have to be strong. I have to be strong for me.
Wow.
It goes into
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was I've learned so much as I've gone through my journey, and I revert back and look back and say, holy crap, I see the world like this. So I've always seen the world very optimistically, but I've had to train it into myself too, because just like any muscle, you have to train it. But after that, I'm like, I'm going to get as strong as I possibly can. And I'm not going to let fear stop me from doing the things that I want. And it's there. It's going to be here now, and it's going to be here in the future. It's always going to be there. But I'm not going to get on that Ghostbuster ride. I'm going to get on the rides I want to get on, and I'm going to celebrate getting on those rides.
Awesome. So how do you approach fear? What do you do in your mind to transition that, because I have a thought on that I do with my clients, around fear. What do you do for yourself to get over those fears?
So 2 things: either I act right away because I don't give my brain time to think about the fear that it's going through.
Love it.
Or I change the perspective and say, is it really as big as I'm making it?
Yeah.
Like, would I be able to sit on my deathbed and say I was okay not doing that? If I'm okay not doing it, whatever. If I wouldn't be okay with not doing it, let's go. Let's make it happen. Let's figure it out. Let's take the action that we need to take.
Right. Oh, I love that. I look at fear this way. I look at fear as also a component. Like I love how you talked about shifting your perspective, because that's a lot of what I do as a coach, is just shifting people's perspective just a little bit. If I just can get them to look a little bit differently, Dr. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so for me, when I was thinking about fear and ways to overcome it, I was standing in line at Mad to talk about rides. It wasn't the Ghostbuster ride, but it was Colossus here in Southern California. It was years ago, and I was standing in line. It was like a 2-hour line, so we had plenty of time. And in the group in front of us, right directly in front of us, they were talking about how excited they were. So like, oh my God, it's gonna be so much fun. We're gonna put our hands up in the air. We're gonna scream. It's gonna be the best ride of the day. And they were just all jammed about it, just all throughout the time we were standing in line.
Yeah.
one group behind me, or two groups behind me, I think it was, they were talking about, and I could hear them because I was kind of walking around, just breaking up time. I could hear them talking about, oh my God, it's so high. Oh my God, what if the ride breaks down? Oh my God, this is an old thing. And they were just talking about it. So in one situation right in front of me, everybody was excited and their adrenaline was going. And people over here, they were fearful and their adrenaline was going on. It dawned on me as a coach, I was like, it's the same fucking thing. It's just dependent on, like, are you excited to look at it or are you fearful of it? So I offer my clients the opportunity to sit there and think about that fear as something to be excited for, because it's going to push you out of your comfort zone and allow you to grow and become stronger and increase your confidence. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree. And I want to give a shout out, Mama Misty. I saw Dwight Mack. That's my boy too. And Marcus, my people, keep holding it down. But I will say, Chris, 100% agree with that. And what's so cool, like, you're the no excuses coach, right?
Hell yeah.
Hi, Tara. You're the no excuses coach. And I say, like, everyone has a reason to doing what they're doing. And ultimately I go, okay, how can I make the one reason better than the reason that they have right now? Because they're like, oh, well, my tire's flat. Oh, my engine's bad. My legs hurt. This happened over here. The birds are chirping. It can be a million and one things. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's that thing that's stopping them from doing the thing that they want to do?
Right.
And when I can figure that out, I just give them both to them in their hand, just like Morpheus with Neo. Hey, do you want to take the red pill or the blue pill? Which one do you want to take?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I love that. And Robert says here, he says, that fear is a friend of mine. I realized that the time it left me for a short time, it is a very useful emotion, bringing fun to the haunted house or roller coaster. Yes. My boy, David Libby's in the house. Thank you, David, for being here. I don't know if David, you just got here or you're repeating what I said, but I literally just said that quote. So I hope you're repeating it, but if not, that's kind of cool that we were thinking about the same thing, but there it is. It's one of the most impactful quotes that I often use every single day. And then my beautiful, beautiful friend and my sister from another Mr. Tara is in the house. She says, fear is my best friend. Ooh, what's your best friend doing? Yeah, she says here, it moves you out of your comfort zone. I can hear her totally saying that. She's up in Canada, so thank you. She's preparing for a horrible storm that's heading their way. So sending you love and light over there as well. Misty Morrison is commenting. She says, two sides of the same coin. Fear is a crazy emotion. Yes, it is. And I want to switch gears for a little bit, Clifford, and talk about, doing our best, often, talking about excuses and whatnot. People all the time, I don't know if they tell you this, but Chris, I'm doing my best. I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can. And I know this, really came up into my periphery years ago for myself when I came home from work and I had some sort of challenging situation that was going on there. And I was putting my keys in my wallet up on my dresser and I said out loud, because I talk to myself out loud. I'm not crazy, but I do it. I feel like I get better conversations that way. It's a long story. But I said, well, I did the best I could today. And then I could still remember it. And I was standing there, I was like, okay, wait a minute, wait, let's just time out there for a second, because I'm always my own best coaching client. And I'm like, okay, I did the best I could. Was really that, how do I quantify my best? What is my best? Was that my best, or was I just giving myself an excuse to say, okay, well, we'll do better next time? And then I kind of rewound it and thought about, as kids, the conditioning cycle of how we become who we become really happens between 0 and 5. So in that situation, that's what really happens. And so when the teacher comes up and says, Christopher, did you do your best on your math test? Yes, I did. And then they say, okay, do better next time. And it's like a get out of jail free card, Christopher, no, I did the best. But nobody ever says, okay, what is your best? And how do we quantify how you're going to do better at it, right? And so I think about that for myself. And so when I talk to my coaching clients, I'm like, are you doing the best you can? And they say, yes, I am. So we get into that, we dig into the weeds of that, because I believe in getting to the root of a situation. So what are your thoughts on that when your clients tell you that they're doing the best they can, and you're sitting there going, I don't know, I think you could do better. I mean, I'm sure you know who David Goggins is, right?
Oh yeah, I love that animal.
Yeah. So I read his book, Can't Hurt Me, right before I did back surgery, and I studied the guy for like 6 months. I just studied him, and then now I just started listening to his new book, and it's phenomenal once again. But I mean, that guy, when I think about doing your best, sometimes I think he's a little psychotic and sending the wrong message for what he does. I mean, he has the opportunity. He has the opportunity to lay in bed for 6 months after he destroys his body. But talk to us about doing our best and what we can do to inspire our listeners and our viewers to do their best.
I love that question, and I'll say they are the answer. And what I mean by they are the answer is everybody's just a guide. So I can look at a David Goggins and be like, oh, I got to run till I get shin splints. I'm just going to deal with the consequence that I've put on myself. Right. But I know when I'm doing my best. and I know when I'm not doing my best. And that's okay. It's asking, do you want this result or do you not want the result? And sometimes I really want the result. And sometimes not so much. Like there's
How do
going
you
to be
how do you quantify that though? Like for me, I use the scale of 1 to 10 a lot. So I think about it in terms of that,
so
and I never pick 7.
I do look at the 1 through 10. I actually had this conversation with a client 3 days ago, and he was supposed to be training Saturday morning, right? And he says, it's hard to wake up Saturday mornings. Like it's because I'm up on Fridays. And I go, if you stay up too late, you know what happens. That's with anybody. If you stay up too late, you're probably not doing the right things. And I asked him, I go, how serious on a scale of 1 to 10 are you about your fitness on getting to this aspect? And he said, I'm at a 10. And I'm like, you're at a 10, but you're talking about how you're staying up late on Friday and you can't make it up on a Saturday, and that's a 10. And I go, look, all I ask, don't BS me and don't BS yourself. That's all I'm asking. Just be straight with yourself, because if you're at a 10, you would have come to several other coaches before you just happened to meet me by your chiropractor who was talking about it. Like that's not a 10. A 10, someone who's like, I'm Googling it, I'm YouTubing it. I've come to 3 coaches. It's not working. I'm doing everything that I can. But that story is not a 10 story that you're telling me. And he goes, I'm at a 7. I'm like, all right.
I don't let people, I'll give you a trick. I don't let people pick 7. Most people will pick 7 because it's just above, being mediocre. I'm like, I'm not mediocre, but I want it bad enough, but I don't want it, so I find I tell them to eliminate 7 and they either have to pick 8 or 6. They get very serious about what they're answering. So a little tip.
I like that. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to is if I can just stay at average, I'm doing okay. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Like, why would the frog that is in the middle of the road is going to get ran over. Why would I want to be in the middle? I want to either be on one side or the other side. I don't want to be in the middle where I'm definitely going to get ran over. That's like me trying to fight. So I used to be a UFC fighter, and I'm fighting in the UFC, and I'm doing average work. I don't want to get killed by those animals. Like that's ridiculous to me. So either go all in or go pick a different profession.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. And when I think about doing our best, I use that scale of 1 to 10 a lot. And I'll give you an example of what I do. So I go dark. So I believe that, we often change when we hit bottom, right? Or when something becomes, there's no other way to go, but we have to make that decision to actually rise up. And so when I've had people, talking about money, which is obviously a huge concern for most people, is I'll talk to them. And recently I had this conversation with a lady who was interested in coaching with me, and I told her what it was to work with me, and she got a little whoa. And I was like, well, you want results? I've been doing this for 20 years. I could save you. You could do it on your own for the next 10 years, or we could do it in 6 months to a year. That all depends upon you. But at any rate, I told her, what would you say if I asked you to raise $10,000 in 7 days, and it can't be illegal, immoral, or unethical? And she looked at me. We're on a Zoom call. And she goes, I would say you're cracked. She goes, Chris, if I could get $10,000, and so I can't get $10,000 in a month. And I said, listen to your language already. You can't. I said, so tell me about somebody in your life that you love the most. I said, do you have kids? She says, yes. And I said, how old's your kid? She said 9. I said, what's his name? She said, Nathan. Or what's his or her name? Nathan. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love Nathan? Would you take a bullet for Nathan? And she goes, oh my God, yes, Nathan, a 10, I would take a bullet. I would do whatever I needed to do to protect my son. And I said, okay, thank you for that. I said, so I'm going to go dark. I'm just warning you. We're going to go dark for a second. Is it okay if I go dark? She goes, yeah. And I said, so all things being equal, you come home from work tomorrow, you open the front door, and there's Nathan sitting on a chair. I'm like, oh, there's Nathan. But sitting next to Nathan is a gentleman that you've never seen before, and he's holding a 9mm gun to his temple. And then he looks at you and says, hi, you're his mom, right? Yeah. Okay, I would like for you to raise $10,000, and it can't be illegal, immoral, or unethical in 7 days, or I'm going to go and I'm going to pull the trigger. So I asked this lady, I said, do you find a way to get that $10,000, or are you going to let your son die? Immediately, you could tell her physiologist, you could tell she would do anything to, she goes, no, I would do it. And I said, why? She goes, oh, I'd have to. And I said, what's the difference in the last 3 minutes that have happened? Now you have to, now you have leverage. So what I teach people is have that positive leverage to really find out what their best is. And so I love doing that to people because they're like, oh, wow. It's all about, I find it in my clients is the fact that when you get resourceful, you find how many fucking TVs do you need in your house? Do you need a $2,000 iPhone? Can you have the iPhone 6 and live with this? All the different things that we spend money on that we think we need. I invite them to eliminate those things and actually put the money to where it's going to advance them in their career and in their happiness and everything else. What are your thoughts on that? Using dark leverage to motivate people. Do you ever do that in your job?
Yeah, I'm going to use whatever they need. So I say I'm going to nurture your nature. And as a person, there's three things that are going to move you. It's going to be the individual themselves, it's going to be other people, or it's going to be circumstances. So I like to use all three and really get those anchors in deep. Mama Misty knows personally, I'm just going to call people on what I'm going to call them on. But it's funny because I'll start off like, hey, there's greatness in you. Yeah, come on over. And when it's time to gut punch, because sometimes it's time, and you just got to figure out when the time is. And the cool thing about coaching, coaches really love. They love deeply because they know what pain feels like. And they don't want people to be in pain. They want them to be their own savior in a way. We're just a guide, but we want them to be their own savior because life's a bitch. It's a hard game. It's a hard game. Yeah, just to be like, oh man, I can't believe that didn't work. Like sometimes you'll do everything right. You'll be on point and you'll still F up. But you'll get better than you were if you didn't do it at all. Yes. And so I remind people like, look, what's your dream? What do you want? What do you want to go after? And sometimes it gets scary when you ask that question. Because when you call people out on actually saying the thing that they want in their life, now they got to take responsibility for actually getting it.
Ooh, you said the R word, dude. You said the R word on my show. By the way, you can swear if you swear, you can swear.
Awesome.
I keep that's why it's the Unfiltered experience. And my other show is called the Raw and Unscripted show. So I know some people don't like it, but that's just the way I talk. So yes, I love that. And Misty's backing you up on this. And she says he definitely nurtures, but yes, he'll call us on our crap. Thank you for that. I got my friend Debbie in the house. She says, hey, Christopher, my daughter Tori and I are watching. Hi guys. Thank you guys for being here. Especially we got Dwight saying, yes, sir. My beautiful sister here says, Christopher, resourcefulness, 100%. Yes. I want to capture this comment here as well. Tara says, interestingly enough, the more they focus on the lack of that money, the more they get. You get what you order, 100%. I mean, we talk about the reticular activation system, which I'm sure you're aware of, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the RAS system. So the way I define it to people is I tell them, you got this ability. Like, say for example, I just had it happen to a friend of mine. He rented a car. He got a Ford Explorer, and he was telling me this without even me asking. He goes, dude, I had the craziest thing happen to me the other day. I said, what was that? And he goes, well, I had to rent a car because Hyundai was screwing up my car. So I had to rent a car to come here to California. And he goes, I had a Ford Explorer. And he goes, it's crazy how many Ford Explorers we saw after being in one. And I said, oh, that's your RAS system, your reticular activation system. I said, it's like, energy goes where focus goes. Energy flows where focus goes, as I say. And I said, the same thing works in every other area of our life. And I said, I can give you an example. And he says, okay. And I said, where are you at right now? He goes, I'm in my room. And I said, okay. I said, look around and tell me everything that's red. I said, just take a look. Let me know when you got that. And he's like, red. He goes, okay, I got it. And I said, okay, without looking around, what was blue? Yeah. He's like, well, Chris, you were telling me to look for what was red. And I said, the same thing happens in your life. If you're focused on, oh, I always screw up the relationships. Oh, I never can get things right. You sit there and say always and never. You're making that permanent distinction that you're furthering that rut in your habit and your routine to say, no, that's never going to happen for you. What are your thoughts on that? And thinking about the RAS system, how do you use that with your clients?
It's so true. And not only does it show up with your clients, it shows up in all your relationships too.
Everything.
Yeah. So I see myself as a father. I've been married for 15 years. We're going on 16, March 30th.
Congratulations. I'm actually right there with you. I think I'm
nice.
I think 2007. I can't do the math. What is that?
That's right. Yeah, that's there. Yeah. That's it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect.
October.
Congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations to you too.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, you figure out how to condition your own, but it's also figuring out how to help your family, your friends condition theirs too.
Sure.
Because I'm not just going to cut people out of my life. I'm not doing it.
Wow.
Not unless something really, unless something really, really big happens. I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't deal with these kids. Oh, I can't deal with my wife. Oh, I can't deal with my parents. Oh, I can't deal with my friends. F that. I'm going to change and they're going to change. And we're going to change together and we're going to have a lot of fun doing that process, going through that process, because they actually make me a better leader at the end of the day.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You and I can sit here and talk for hours. I'm sure it's going to be that way. So talk to me about a time in your life. You talked about being 3 years old and wanting to go on the Ghostbusters ride, but talk to me about a time in your life when you were at your lowest, like when you're really at your lowest. Talk to me about what that was and what the process was for you to come out of that and what lessons you can see now from this perspective of why that happened perhaps in your life. I've had so many horrible things happen, but I can look back at them now and go, okay, that was happening for me and not to me. What about you?
So I had this was a guy who I was working at his gym, and I signed some paperwork I shouldn't have signed. I was a young kid, and I got hit with a lot of debt, about $75,000.
Dude,
and
I was.
So I was 19 signing it, and all of this fell when I was about 23.
Oh my God!
I was terrified. And I had creditors. The creditors started calling. And I remember I went to go take a nap and I couldn't sleep. I just looked up at the ceiling like, I'm fucked. Like, I'm done. This is a wrap. And I instantly went into, what can I do? Because I'll get into that. When my knees get buckled, I'll take the buckle, right? I'm done. It's a wrap. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, what can I do? And so I remember going to the gym and I started training, and that's what I did. I remember talking with the creditors. I let them know my position. And what was really, really interesting, they were very nice. And I think they were very nice to me because I wasn't trying to avoid them. Right. I wasn't hanging up on them. I was just letting them know, hey, this is the situation. And I also was like, why did you wait so long to actually contact me? Why did you contact me a little bit earlier until he dipped? And I have all this interest on top of it.
Wow.
So they're like, Mr. Starks, we will work with you the best that we can. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, people are inherently what we see them to be. If we see them as helping us out, if we see them as supporting us, they're going to try. If we see them as assholes, they're going to be that. Oh, yeah. So we're literally creating our reality without knowing that we're creating our reality. So and the best thing about leadership, as I've learned on my journey, is I always look at me and go, what can I do better in this situation? Because adults are just grown kids. Like every one of us, myself included.
I'm so with you on that. I'm so with you on that.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute, we're all kids. Yeah. We all have our habits. We all have our little downfalls. We have our upfalls too. We have the superior sides of us and our inferior side. So it's really figuring those pieces out. But it was such a great lesson for me because it reminded me holy crap, I was able to I got out of the situation. And I told one of my coaches, this was when I was fighting, actually. So I'm in my UFC fight. I make my UFC debut. Ooh. I end up winning that fight. My coach goes, okay, call the creditors up right now. Tell them you want to make a deal and you'll go 50% of everything cash and you want to be done with it.
Whoa.
I'm like, you sure that's going to work? He's like, I'm almost positive, but you can't know unless you try. Yep. So I ended up calling him up. I'm like, look, this is the situation. This is where I'm at. If I can pay you cash right now, at 50%, can we just call it a wash? He goes, Mr. Starks, every one of them. Yes, we will do that for you. And I got out of the situation. And it was, let me tell you, when you get chopped down by the knees and you get up, wow, you feel strong as hell.
Yeah. It's so true. And I love it that you're talking about this. I can't remember the guy's name, but I was watching a Tom Bilyeu interview this week. I take up some salt baths and I sit there and that's when I do my studying. So I watch Tom Bilyeu, which I love to death. and he was had a guest on there. I can't remember his name, Elrod or something like that. I can get it for everybody and put it here in the. But he wrote a book. But in the conversation he was talking about when he was working for as a sales rep for Cutco Knives, he said one of the things that they did as part of their training, I guess they have an excellent training program for their salespeople, is they said, okay, we're going to talk about emotions and how to handle those because you're going to face a lot of rejection. And a lot of us don't face the rejection that a salesperson would face. So they talked about having this mindset of you get a 5-minute, bitch session. I call it a one day. I give my friends and my coaching clients a one-day pity party. Like if something bad happens, you can stomp your feet, you can yell and scream and eat bonbons and do whatever you want. But the next morning you wake up, you open your eyes and you're part of the solution. You're not part of the problem. And so in that, he talks about that they got that 5-minute little bitch session, to sit there and say, okay, it is what it is. Right. And that's what I tell my people. I tell myself, I'm like, once you come to the clean on it pretty quickly, it's like, it is what it is. I can't change. Like somebody gets a cancer diagnosis. I've had 2 friends get cancer diagnosis. My mother-in-law's in the room right behind me. She just got cancer. So she's out here getting her treatments. It is what it is. Like it is what it is. You found it. Like I'm $75,000 in debt. It is what it is. What can I do? How can I be a proactive part of the solution? And I love the fact that you said, just try. So many people are so afraid to try because of the fear of failure and the fear of mistakes and all that other stuff. Talk to us about that. How can we reframe perspectives about people so afraid to make another mistake? Like, I don't want to make another mistake, because the way I look at it is if you learn from your mistakes, I always ask, I said, do you learn from your mistakes? Most people say yes. And I said, go make more. And they're like, yeah. What do you mean? And I said, failure way to success. I said, Thomas Edison created the light bulb after 100,000, 10,000 tries. He just kept going. He just kept going. He wanted it on a scale of 1 to 10. He wasn't going to give up, and he was going to continue to try and figure out what it is. So many people I've been interviewing people for now probably 12 years. Everybody I've talked to has said, what's the worst that can happen, right? I'm in this shitty situation. If I go ask somebody for a loan or go ask somebody for the sale, what's the possibility of the worst thing happening? But yet let's focus on the best and talk to us about how we can get people to rewrite that perspective of, I don't want to make any more mistakes. I'm afraid to fail.
Yeah. Yeah. My biggest thing is, and I know you mentioned you go dark, so I'm getting ready to go dark myself.
Let's go.
We're all going to die.
Seatbelts.
Yeah. We're all going to die.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be alive, and one day I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Am I doing the things that I wanted to do in this body that is alive right now? Because that's an opportunity. And you can choose to waste your opportunities and say, I wish I would have done that, and then be in the grave wishing you would have done things.
Uh-huh.
Or you can go do them today, now. And that's what it is now. My body's literally getting amped up as I'm talking about it, because life is a present moment game. And too often we're waiting for this thing to show up for us. We're waiting for the future to work for us. We're waiting for when I get that Hail Mary, when I get that opportunity. The opportunity has always been here. It's now. Yes. It always has been, and it always will be. Live now.
So true. So true. And I love how you said that, Clifford. I'm going to bounce back before Clifford, and Cliff, and we'll see which one sticks with me. I love that you talk about that, because so many people are out there, and I'm so passionate about this. People probably want to throw rocks at me for saying it, because I always say it. Everybody's playing the someday game. Well, someday when this happens, and someday when that happens, and when this person does this, and when the stars align, then I'll go out there and I'll be happy. When I've got it all perfect and figure it out, then I'll go. No, you got to live today, because what you were talking about there basically amounts to regrets. And most of my social media posts say no regrets, #no regrets, because for me, I look at it this way, and Ed Milet, I have to give Ed Milet the credit for this. It's another person that I follow. I only follow a few people in personal development because most of them are frauds. Quite honestly, I found this out. They're a bunch of bullshitters. That's another subject. But Ed Milet said, he was talking about leverage, and he said, for me, he goes, and he's a very religious person. I'm not super religious. I'm more of a spiritual person. But he says, I believe that we're souls having this human experience. And he goes, I believe we came here to achieve a certain amount of things. That we're here, we're meant all for greatness. We all have our zone of genius, which is another book I'll talk about. But we're all here to achieve certain things. And he goes, I believe the worst thing in my whole journey could be when I meet my maker. He says, Ed, you could have been a famous motivational speaker. Ed, you could have started a company called WFG. Ed, you could have Ed, but you didn't. And to think about that dissonance, that okay, you could have been here, but you're here. That whole journey, everything that you went through, you didn't really go and pursue what it is that you're supposed to pursue. So you got to go do that. And one of the things that I found is this book. It's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Ladies and gentlemen, I talk about it a lot on all my shows. 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's by Bronnie Ware, Bronnie, 5 Regrets of the Dying. You actually can go read a snippet about, I found it first on the internet. So if you go and it'll show you the 5 Regrets of the Dying. This lady was a hospice nurse, and she decided to write this book. She was with all these patients that were dying, and she finally figured out, like, the number one regret of the dying is that people lived the life they thought they were supposed to live, not the life they wanted to live. And so when you think about that, you're on your deathbed and you're just like, wow, I did everything for everybody else. I was so worried what so-and-so was going to say. I was so worried about my parents. I was so worried about this. And now I'm sitting here and I have nothing but time to think about all that shit that I could have done. I could have taken that chance. I could have started my own company. I could have divorced my husband 20 years ago when I knew I was not in love with him anymore. I could have found another relationship. I could have had kids. I could have, whatever it is that you should have, could have, would have. That book for me, I couldn't even finish it. I was like, no. This for me was leverage, sitting there going, okay, wow, thinking about those regrets. So what I do is I inspire people to write their eulogy. When I say that, because back in 2008, I wrote my eulogy. I was at a church at a funeral, and I was sitting in the back, and I thought, if I died tomorrow, who would show up and what would they say? And I figured at that point, 10 or 15 people would show up. They would bring cases of Miller Genuine Draft and Jack Daniels and a bunch of Bon Jovi and Motley Crue records and go, remember that time Chris did that stupid thing? Remember that time Chris got drunk and did that? Remember that time Chris, drove his car off a cliff? Remember that time he crashed his boat? Oh yeah, he was a former 7th grade homeless dropout who got a master's degree and ultimately changed the world. I figured the postscript to my life was going to be that little thing. Oh yeah, he did this. Everything was more just going to be about all the stupid shit I did. So I went home and I wrote my eulogy. And actually, I was just putting it in my book yesterday. I actually finished writing my book yesterday. It's 166,000 words. It's crazy. But in there, my eulogy said, Christopher Rausch will have fought for what's right and what's fair. He will have risked for which that mattered, and he will left the earth a better place for who he was and what he did. And when I wrote that, Clifford, I just, like, tears were running down my face. I had no idea this was going to happen, but I wanted to figure out, okay, what do I want to be remembered for? So now that when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I say what I'm grateful for before my eyes open. Right when I first wake up, what I'm grateful for. And a lot of it's the same, but then I always try to find new things to be grateful for. And then again, before my eyes open, I say what my intentions are. And one of those intentions is to be present and playful with my son. I have a 6-year-old boy. The other intention is to fulfill that legacy. So that if this is the last thing I ever do, my son can come watch this and go, wow, dad was really living up to his legacy. He was really doing what it is that he wanted to do wholeheartedly. And, even though he's gone, he was still fulfilling that legacy. So he didn't have any regrets. What do you think about that? Like writing your eulogy, is that something you've ever done, considered?
Yeah, so I think it's extremely deep. And I'll say I was so afraid of dying, through a lot of my life. And I want to live as much life as I can. I still fear dying. I want to live as much as I can. And I enjoy living in this body. I did have a near-death experience, and I'll talk about that at another time.
Wow.
But ultimately, when you were saying what you were saying in the beginning, my mom was a hospice nurse.
Oh, so
So I got to hear those stories. And no one's at fault for the game that they're playing. But they do have to take responsibility when they realize that they're playing it.
Yep.
And so as you were talking about it, I literally wanted to jump out of my skin. I cannot help myself because I want the best for people. And they have so much power and potential that they don't even realize it. True. And so even when I started, like, this is greatness within, I started it in hopes that people would see what they were. And what's crazy, I started seeing what I was. It kind of flipped the script on me.
Yeah.
Everybody that I influences me. And that's where I was just kind of like, holy crap, this is a cool ass game. Like when you really understand it, it's a really cool game, because when I pour into others, they actually want to pour back into me. Right. They want to support me. They want to lift me up. And it actually makes me want to be a better and a stronger leader, not for just myself, but for others.
Yes.
And it all started with, I'm taking a stand for me. When I was 4, I took a stand for me.
You did.
And I wasn't going to stop standing for me. And then I had no, son, you shouldn't fight. I made it into the UFC. Oh, you're just a little fat, chunky kid. I got in shape. oh, well, you're not very bright. I'm an academic athlete. You know, and you get to a point where you realize, wait a minute, everyone's full of shit. It doesn't matter what they say. It never did. I always become what I want to become. Yep. So I don't even technically have to listen to them. And so I do my best to support me, and I do my best to support others, because even all that bull crap that they're trying to spew at you, it doesn't even have anything to do with you. It's nothing to do with you, because if they were in a good space, they wouldn't even be thinking about that stuff. Like, people playing at the highest level aren't thinking about, like, well, at least I'm better than that guy. No, they're too busy being great. So they're not thinking about it. Yeah,
they're living their legacy. They're living true to what true and congruent to their values. That's another thing that I find with my clients. I'm like, does it align with your values? And they have to pause and think about it. I'm like, have you written your values out lately? Like, actually written things? Because I always make my clients handwrite stuff. Like, the power of that commitment when you handwrite stuff is pretty incredible. And I'm like, when's the last time you visited your values and based your decisions on those values, and you add into that the eulogy aspect of it? There's no other way but to go after your dreams. Like, if you sit there and ask myself, is one of my values fear and uncertainty? Well, no. Okay, one of my values is positivity and living my best life. Then what decisions do I need to make? And so oftentimes people are part of the problem and not part of the solution. And that's where I sit there and invite people, again, that have that little perspective shift, to sit there and think, okay, what's the one thing you can do starting today that by which doing so will start the ball rolling on whatever it is that you possibly want to do? If you want to write a book, can you write 10 words tomorrow? Can you write out a title? Can you come out? I have so many people saying, I want to write a book. I'm like, well, why don't you? Well, I got to think about it. And fuck that. Just start writing. Start writing that shit and write and write and write and write. I have 166,000 words. I started October of 2020 writing this memoir about my life. I'm going to have to drop it down quite a bit. But you just start doing it. You want to work out, you want to get skinnier. How about just one less bite and one more mile of walking? I always talk about the one more, one less kind of thing. You can do it. And if you start today, it actually will happen. And it'll get that compound interest. I call it the compound interest for, building your confidence. You start doing that and you start telling yourself, no, I'm not going to slack off anymore. And it's pretty incredible what it is that you can invite into your life. You start building that confidence muscle, man. And this, it's like, wow, I start to feel better. What else can I do? I've had so many of my coaching clients go, Chris, you've opened my eyes up. Now I just keep thinking, what else can I do? What else can I do? Because now I'm no longer afraid of those failures and opinions and everything else. I'm afraid that I'm not going to end up being the person that I'm supposed to be here to be.
Yeah. And what's super crazy and awesome. So the first time I met you, I was like, I freaking love this dude. Like, I just love the energy, right?
Thank you.
Just love being around the energy. And I had a client, and he changed his standard just because of the way I showed up. Like, sometimes you don't even have to ask a question. Yeah. You just have to show up a certain way. And in showing up the way that you show up, they want to show up better. Yep. And I was like, holy crap, that is really kind of cool. And I'm looking at it like, everything's energy. Like, everything comes down to energy at the end of the day. And when I figured that out, the game just got more and more interesting and more fascinating. So my eulogy, I have written it. It said, changed 1 billion lives and counting. Right? Because my goal is to change 1 billion lives. Now, it actually changed from when I started to where I'm at now. Because I wanted to change 1 billion lives, because I'm like, all right, the rest of the world can't possibly F this up. If there's 1 billion happy people who are enjoying life and loving life, then they'll reflect that and bring it on other people, and everybody will come together.
Yes.
But it changed to, holy crap, every life I change changes me. Mm-hmm. So it's that ripple effect in both directions of they're changing and I'm changing. We're changing together. We're coming together. I'm like, wait a minute. We're meant to be together. Men, women, and children. We're meant to be together. And we try to separate news and media and all of that crap. Yeah. It's just like, fear, left, right, this, over here. Look at what they're saying over there. It's humans having a human experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. I don't watch the news or follow politics anymore. The whole COVID thing and everybody coming out of their sheet about, Trump or Biden or vax or this, that, and all. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, can't we just all coexist? It's pretty crazy. So I always get people, because I'm the same way with you. I look at my son. He's 6 years old. Do you have kids?
Two. Yeah, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old.
That's right. I think we had talked about that. So we both have 6-year-olds. Yeah, we have a lot of things in common. That's why I'm loving this conversation, especially. So when I think about and I look at my son, I'm like, I'm scared for the world he's growing up in. I'm like, I think back to when we were kids. At least I'm 54. You could stay out until the lights came on. There was so much freedom and so much opportunity, and now it's so scary. And I think where the world's going with AI and all this stuff. I worry for my son. I worry for what kind of environment he's going to have to grow up in and live in. And I just tell people, I'm like, can you imagine? Like John Lennon said, "Can we give peace a chance?" And then like the song Imagine, can you imagine the beautiful world? I can. Like, I literally think of every single person in this world. One day, we picked one day, and everybody went out there and did one nice thing for somebody else. Complete stranger. Everybody did that in the whole 8 billion people in the world. And if we did that every day for about 2 weeks, how different this world would be. Because once we once we help the hurt people, because we know hurt people, if we can help remedy that, this world can become such a phenomenal place and not a divisive place and not those people that they, it would be us. That's why I'm with that company or with the organization, Help Heal Humanity, because I don't care if you're black, white, short, straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, whatever, you're a human, because I've proven it standing in front of thousands of people. I'm like, look around the room. Because I always do this. That's my little platform to tell people, hey, shut the fuck up. We're all the same. And literally I do that. And I'm like, look around the room. There's black, white, short, straight, gay, transgender, Republican, everybody's in this room right now. Look around. I said, for any of you guys out there are racist or anything else or whatever, have you had a blood transfusion? Did you ever ask where the blood came from? No, because it's blood and it comes from all of us. So I said, you split us all down the middle right now. You take out the outer exterior, we're all the same. I can get your heart, you can get my liver, we can we're all the same. We are humanity. So I love that you brought that up. I want to ask you another question about your business. So you're an executive mindset coach. Talk to us about what got you into that and what really you help your clients do. What, like, if you had to nail it down, like, what do you help your clients do and why did you become an executive mindset coach?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I help my clients do is to think differently, because if they thought the way they needed to think, they would have the thing that they wanted.
Yes.
So it's thinking
boom,
differently.
Boom.
Yeah. And it's having the right resources available in that thinking. So I literally just shortened the gap. I called myself, and I got it from Jay Abraham, right? So I'm learning the skill set of being a marketing consultant and strategist right now. Yeah. But ultimately, I'm a guy who's going to listen to his people and listen closely and ask deep questions and figure out how to get them the solution, whether I'm the solution or something else is the solution. I'm going to point them to where they need to go to win in their game.
Nice. Can you talk to us about a success story with one of your clients that kind of sticks out?
Yeah. So I'm actually working with one guy who he has a moving company, and he's been in it for about 2 years. This is actually super, super cool, because I brought him in a room full of powerhouses. Like, these guys have gone to the top. And one of these guys is actually my business partner. His name's Curtis Teachout. But he has 12 kids and 5 businesses. And he somehow found a way to juggle all of that. And so this guy, he's in this room with all of these people. And he's like, holy crap, I'm nowhere near any of these guys. Like, they are crushing it.
Right.
And I go, brother, you're in the right room, because that's the name of the game. Yeah. When I was a fighter, the reason I got so far so fast is because I would fight with people who would challenge me, who would take me to another place. Mm-hmm. And what I do is I help people go to that place. I challenge them, and I have others challenge them as well. But the true leader is always the individual in the driver's seat.
Yes.
We sometimes just don't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. You have to invite people to sit there and say, okay, are you a part? I go like simple, straight to the point. Are you part of the problem or part of the solution? And they're like, oh, well, I'm not part of it. No, if you're part of the problem. So when you've got, okay, what can you do about, like we were talking about before, becoming resourceful, that's why getting people out of their comfort zone, that's where you're truly living. That's where you're growing. Like when I tell people, my story, like, oh my God, Chris, I don't know if I could have survived all the things that you went through. I'm like, sure you can. I said, all I did was one step at a time, literally one step at a time. I was a 7th grade dropout. And at 18 years old, one of my mentors, my girlfriend's dad, said, Chris, have you thought about getting your diploma? And I'm like, are you crazy? I'm not going to go back and finish 7th grade and go to 8th grade. And I'm 18 years old now. That'd be ridiculous. He goes, no. You could do this thing called a GED. And I was like, a GED? What the hell's that? He goes, it's a general equivalency diploma. And I was like, and I thought I was stupid. My mom told me I was stupid my entire life. I did poorly in school because I had an eyesight issue and a little bit of a hearing deficiency. So I stopped raising my hand and doing stuff, and I did poorly in school. You know, in the 7th grade, all my life I was bullied, either bullied by the kids on the street, bullied at kids at school, or my ass kicked by my mom. There was a lot of physical violence in my house. So I had zero confidence and everything else. And I was like, you want me to go and like prove that I'm stupid? Are you kidding me? Like, no way. There's no way I'm going to do this. But then I thought for a minute, I'm like, okay, this guy's actually pretty smart. He's got furniture in his house he doesn't sit on. And I grew up without a couch. Like, we had a twin bed because we had about 30 cats in our house. That's another story. But I'm sitting there like, he's got all these things together. He's the president of a trucking company. I'm like, might I take some advice from somebody who has demonstrated that they're successful? And so I was like, all right, plus I still wanted to date his daughter. So back before the internet days, I had to pick up the phone and call all the schools around my area and say, do you have a GED program? And it took me about 13 phone calls, and I was ready to give up. I'm like, this shit doesn't exist. I don't know what fucking planet this guy's living on. And then I called and I got a hold of Wintersburg High School in Westminster, California. And they said, yes, we have that program. And I said, what do I need to do? I have no idea. And I was scared to death. Like, I was just like, there's no way I'm going to pass this. I'm going to be in school for the next 10 years. But I'm going to do it. I'm like, one step at a time, one step. Can I pick up the phone and call the number? Yes. That was it. Can I just pick up the phone and call the number? Can I call one more? Can I call one more? Can I go down there and take the test? Can I just make it down there to take the test? You know, and so I just progressively did that. I took the test. They said, you're actually pretty smart, you know, not in so many words, but they said, you know, you need about 3 classes. So we're going to have you do what's continuation school. We're going to give you work and you're going to go home and do it. You're going to bring it back here. And then whenever you feel ready, we'll test you again and potentially you can get your GED. And I thought, oh, this is going to be crazy. And literally within 6 months, I earned my GED and I went back to this guy, Bill White, tremendous individual in my life. I had long hair, cigarette smoking, living in a house with 5 other guys. It was crazy. And he goes, good. He goes, have you thought about going to college? And in my mind, I'm like, what does this fucking guy want from me? Right. I did this. But again, I had to get out of my comfort zone. What can you say to inspire people to get out of their comfort zone? What are your strategies for when people say, I'm scared, you know, getting that, like transferring that energy to, like we've been talking about, like not having regrets. What are some strategies to get out of people's comfort zones?
So there's I call this rubber skin.
Rubber skin.
Basically, we want to go as high as we can. It's in our nature. We can't help ourselves. And some people will play small and live in a box and be like, F it, I'm too scared. I'm going to live in my box. Yep. But when you step, then you take another step and another step and another step. But then it starts getting really, really high, right? And you're like, oh, crap, I've taken like 20 steps. Like, I'm a lot higher than I was before. Now, the cool thing with rubber skin is you might just fall, but you can always bounce back. And you might even be able to bounce higher than what you originally were at.
Yes.
So just keep climbing the stairs, have your rubber skin, do what you need to do. Because my comfort zone is always a new, different comfort zone. Like when I got into like, oh my goodness, I'm fighting inside of a cage with a guy who's my size and skill level and strength and wants to do the same thing that I want to do to him. Oh crap. You think that's the end, and it's not.
Right.
And David Goggins talks about this. He goes, oh, you people, you get to the top and then you give up and you stop and then you get sloppy. And then like,
you know,
and I did it. Yeah, I'm listening to him getting this thing because I'm like, holy crap, I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop because I'm always going to have a story or a lesson or something to do or something to overcome. Sometimes it's actually, I had to break myself from certain patterns and create new patterns as I went through my journey. Because I can grind like any other in anything. So I'm like, I'm going to grind here. I'm going to grind here. I'm going to grind here. And as an entrepreneur, I realized, holy crap, I can't grind all of these out. Like I burnt out. I burnt out 10 days, bed rest. Like I was done. It was a wrap. And I'm thinking like, where did I go wrong? Then I get to see how Curtis was doing it. I'm like, oh, crap. I didn't have a team. I didn't have any of the pieces that I needed. I was doing it all by myself. with my kids on my arm. Like, it's not possible. And so I had to learn a new me. I had to learn, like, okay, how do I effectively delegate? How do I effectively do this piece over here? Because when you get inside of that cage, a fight cage, you're getting ready to fight for you. So you're getting ready to struggle for you. You're getting ready to do what you need to do. But as an entrepreneur, you're all stepping in that cage together and being tested together. So you got to prep everybody and get their muscles working for the right pieces.
So true. Dude, I could talk to you for hours. We've already been going for 55 minutes. Definitely want to have you back. I'm going to have you on the Raw and Scripted show. We'll just continue talking over there on the Tuesday night show. But where can people get a hold of you, brother?
Awesome. Yeah.
Where can people get a hold of you?
On LinkedIn, you can get a hold of me. LinkedIn. So he's got that link right on the bottom. And also on my email. Yeah, and there's my email right there. I'm starting to freeze up a little bit. But yeah, he's got both links on the bottom. Either email me, catch me on LinkedIn. If you say Raw and Unscripted, I'll give you a free coaching session to the first 3 that do that.
There you go.
And if you do leave a comment with a picture, three people, the first 3 that he sees.
There you go. I love it. I love it. So for people listening on the podcast, it's linkedin.com/Clifford-Starks. CLIFFORD-STARKS. And then his email is cliffordstarks1@gmail.com. So there you go for people listening on the podcast. Man, this has been such a phenomenal conversation. I'm jacked up from it. I'm going to put you backstage for a second. I'm going to finish out the show. Don't go anywhere because I still want to chat with you for a second. But thank you for being here, and we'll chat here in a second. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. 57 minutes and 17 seconds. I'm always going to keep you out of here about an hour. So thank you for being here. All the beautiful people in the house. Misty says, woo. Misty says, great show. We've had so many beautiful comments today. David Libby says, in that cage, you're all being tested together. Clifford Starks, thank you, brother, for being here. And thank you for posting those, being my scribe tonight. Sometimes it's my friend Ray. Dwight says, obsession with success. Absolutely. And don't stop believing. Got to sit there and think about some journey. Misty says, he drags the true self out of you and forces you to recognize the greatness within. I love that. Reminds me of Les Brown. Robert says, here he goes, I can see it now. The recipient of Christopher's liver. Damn, that guy must have been truly lived. I wouldn't go for my liver. My liver is probably a little tainted from a lot of Jack Daniels. David Libby says, did both of you have to hit bottom to think like this? I would say so. I would say, at least for myself, I had to hit bottom. I literally couldn't kill myself. I did 2 times I tried to kill myself. That didn't work. And then I ultimately had a gun put to my head and thought it was all going to end. And I told him to pull the trigger and he didn't. And so from that point, I went back and got my master's degree and started coaching and speaking over 20 years ago. I had a successful corporate career. So yes, sometimes you do have to hit bottom. That's why I go dark. So think about that bottom in advance and then get yourself moving. Of course, we're here to help. And Joe Hutter's in the house. He says, hey, Chris, weather is nasty here. Sorry I'm late, but appreciate you being here, Joe. And for those of you guys who got here a little bit late, at the beginning of the show, I asked a favor. Here's what I'm trying to do. Scott and I realized that we're trying to figure out how to get our podcast to more people. And we had somebody look at it and they said, you don't have any reviews on iTunes. So I know you guys have been getting a value out of this show alone. We would love for you to go there. The link is on the screen. Go there, subscribe to our podcast. And if you dig it, and if you've been a long time subscriber and listener, can you please leave us a review? We found out that once people start leaving reviews, apparently our podcast will get seen by more people, how the algorithm works. I was never been really worried about that kind of stuff, but now we've okay, we gotta get this message out there. There's so many amazing people we've had on here on the show. So thank you guys all for being here. We're gonna be back next Friday night. We wish Scott all the best. I love you guys, and be sure to stay unfiltered. And we will be here next Friday night. Love you guys. Bye.